The obstacle is the way. I think people now are getting into running because it's like a popular thing and it's like very like cutesy to be a runner. It's also something that it does for like your mind, like your mental fortitude, because I want people to be prepared for when the running isn't fun and when it hurts and when it doesn't feel good and when they don't want to run. But it's what does the run do for you after the run? What it does for me, for my mind, my body, and my soul. But that obstacle, like that, is the way.
Welcome to the Safe Space Runner podcast, where we're here to encourage, enable, and empower. And I feel like every time I do this, I have it written on my website. I should probably write it down on a note somewhere, but it doesn't matter. Y'all get the vibes. I am so pleased and honored to have today's guest, the founder of St. Louis Run Crew, Ricky. Ricky, how are you doing, my guy?
I'm grateful, brother. I'm grateful. I'm present. I could be anywhere in the world when I'm here with you, Chris, on Safe Space, man. So I'm excited about this, my brother.
I love that answer. I grateful is one of my favorite words because it embodies so much about where I am, at least mentally. Just being grateful for the things, being able to wake up this morning, being able to put clothes on my back. I'm now starting to get into my Baptist preacher side of things from growing up. But clothes on my back, food on my table. But no, I love that answer. Before we really get to the nitty gritty of it all, what do you have lined up on your race schedule this year? What do you got planned? Anything big? Any milestones you're trying to hit? What you got?
I do got something big, and I can't even say exactly what it is, but
fair enough.
I say that, and I'll preface it with this. So I'm really big on like running being super inclusive. Like our run crew is about moving your body, moving and connecting. We have such a wide variety of folks, age, ability, so I don't harp on like speed, but as I enter the running space, I know how important like my representation is. So as I realized I was fast, I know this is a very long answer to answer this question.
No, this is your platform. You good.
I haven't been running for too long. But once I realized I was fast, it inspired me to represent in these spaces because oftentimes I don't see a lot of me at the start line. So it encouraged me to want to get faster and faster and faster. So I say that because I don't like push speed, but I push like you being the best version of yourself, and the best version of myself, Ricky. I'm going sub 3 this year, man.
I love that.
That's my time goal. Me and one of my good friends in St. Louis, Paul, we're trying to join the list. If you're not familiar with the list, American Black-born men who ran sub 3 marathons, and this will be my 4th marathon this year, and we're going sub 3.
I love that. I love the Ted Corbett Institute. For those who are not aware, they have this list. It's one of the motivating factors for a lot of us who are shooting for sub 3. Because for those who aren't aware of the history of the context, there's not that many African American born Black males and females, especially want to make sure we keep both of those in the same scope. Who breaking 3 is a big milestone, and we've talked about it a couple of different times on the podcast. Sarah Franklin has actually been on the podcast. If you haven't looked up Ted Corbett Institute, please look it up. I'm gonna put a pin on that because I want to come back to that. Before I go to that, I got to make sure that we recognize who you are and what you do. Again, you are the founder of the St. Louis Run Crew. For the longest, I kept saying club, but we got to put respect on the name, Run Crew. And you've been in this space for quite some time, making big moves. You are nationally known. You've done different speaking. This is not your first podcast, not your first speaking engagement. But I wanted to touch into one aspect that I learned when doing some research about you. I know you have a music background, and you made a pivot to from music to running. So can you dig a little bit into that transition and what led you to that? Because they go hand in hand, but they're kind of different worlds.
Man, you've been doing. See, before I want to. Well, okay, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
that is so interesting because they are similar to me because they
Mm-hmm.
both were my like creative outlets.
Mm.
What is funny is like now I'm like the running guy, and you say I've been in the game for a while, but I'm low key like the little bro, the little homie, the little cousin because we're turning we're like 3.5 years old. Like some of my homies like Matt in DC, like they
Mm-hmm.
11, 12, 15, people 10, 8, 9, so we're like young in that aspect. So I've been running for about 4 years. I did music for like almost 20 years, like 15,
Mm.
17 years. I was in the music industry for a while. And I was a part of a production company here in St. Louis. I was a rapper, I was an artist, I was a producer, I was a manager, I was a writer. And humbly said, like we were pretty big, especially here in St. Louis, and we became national. We kind of got
Mm-hmm.
our big like kickoff on uh Hughes album. We did
Mm-hmm.
like 8 out of the 10 tracks on Hughes album, and then we started working with like Future and Bun B, and I mean I could drop a lot of names, but we were popping, man. We were really popping in music, but it was the lifestyle, Chris, that
Mm.
was not sitting right with me. A lot of the things from like I wanted to work with everybody, but like that wasn't the hip hop culture. You only work with like your clique. And then
Mm.
the outside, like just the extracurriculars, like the drugs and the liquor and the clubs and the strip clubs, it just didn't sit right with me. And um so I could talk a lot. This is a long big gap of my life. I learned a lot. I met uh I dated my now wife at that time, so it's a very important time,
Mm.
but the most important part was God bringing me out of that
Mm.
and saving my life because I would have spiraled out of control 1000%. I
Oh
left
wow.
the top of our game. People thought I was crazy. I left at the like going towards the peak of like our career. Like I just started making money. I was in Atlanta. Like we were like where we were striving to be, and I just felt God. I heard God tell me to leave.
Mm.
I left, went there, lived back home with my mom, got a regular job, and I never regretted it. I just knew that was what
Wow.
I was supposed to be doing. But um, you know, now here I am. So it was a major pivot. But it's a huge part of my life because it just showed me like, man, as much as you think you want something, like God is ultimately in control. You gotta just be open to hearing and be open to your heart changing. Like if I were to say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I'm going to just stick my head down and make it in music," I was very sensitive to like my heart, and my heart was telling me to get out. And then a couple of years later, I started to uh, run, and here I am
Yeah.
now. So
And I would say, even with that, it may not seem like long, but I've been Safe Space has been around officially a year now, and
oh wow,
I've been running for 20 plus years. And I say when you've been in for a while, you've been making impact for a while. It's probably a good way to phrase that because I see a lot of clubs that are around for 10, 15, 20 years, and every club is different. Doesn't mean that every club has to be oriented to make the world change. It could be as simple as just having three people meet up every week and having somewhere to call home for your running community. But I think what's been unique is that you've created impact and you've created change within that span of 2 3 years, and that's a big deal. It speaks to the kind of work and speaks to the kind of passion that you have for that. And I also appreciate it being your creative outlet, because I say that because I'm a musician as well, and running and music are my two lifelines, I would say. Of course, God, my wife, and family, things like that. But then when it comes to like personal endeavors, my personal outlet of decompression or whatnot, it's typically running and music. So I completely understand the correlation between the two for those, which kind of goes into my next question because you could have gone out and just did your own miles. You could have just did, and that's okay for those listening. If you do solos, again, this is not a call to action for everyone. Not everyone's meant to do these kind of things, and there's not a knock to that. But you could have done, running on your own. You could have been pursuing your things on your own, but you decided to create this club. So my next question to you is why St. Louis Run Crew? Why create this community? Why was that important for you?
Um, I didn't want to start a run club. I
It's a lot
wanted
of
to
work.
I wanted to uh and just to digress a bit,
Yeah.
I still can any day I could drop a song. I'm just saying. Some of my good homies always are in my ear. Drop a song, drop a song. I still got one toe in now, Chris. I still got one toe in.
You still got to dabble
I
in. I
still got
respect
one
it.
toe in. But I didn't want to start a run crew. It was like God is the streamline in everything I do. I started running in the pandemic. I ran track in high school. So like 100, 200, 4x1, 4x2. That's it. I
Hmm.
was a dog. I was like a state. I went to stay. My high school track team won state. But anything over like I probably didn't run a mile until like 2021. So I was
Mm.
never running long distance ever. What happened was the pandemic hit. I was working remote with my wife and kids. Realized I was depressed and probably had been depressed for a long time.
Mm.
And it was around the same time as my Arbery, the video. I saw the video and it inspired me to run. But at that point in time, I wanted to just like I got in the running. I'm like, oh, I just left hip hop and music, and I got me a GoPro, and I wanted to like just I was making little music under my. I was really experimenting at that time. I still was kind of like just being creative, but I wanted to be like a social media content influencer. At the time, I didn't even know any of it existed. I just knew I
Mm.
needed a creative outlet. I started to run, and I still was running like 1 mile, 2 miles. And what happened was I got on internet, I found a run club in St. Louis, and I went to it. Nobody spoke to me. They just left.
It's
I
the
got
worst.
lost, had to GPS downtown, back to my house, back to my car, and it was terrible. I felt terrible.
Mm.
I was like, man, I do not want anybody to feel like how I felt. So, um, I remember asking my wife, I was like, I think I want to start a run club, and she was like, go ahead. I was like, what? I thought she
Mm.
was gonna say no, cause she's like, you don't need another thing, but she said yeah, and so ultimately I created like it came out of a very dark spot, like Ahmaud Arbery, that whole situation, and then me feeling like ostracized and uh a racist act. I felt like it was a racist act. I don't know if it was intentional, but no one
Yeah.
spoke to me at this run. I felt terrible. I wanted to create a space. I want to create a safe space where folks could run together and not feel like how I felt.
Mm.
And that's how I started St. Louis Run Crew, out of a necessity in St. Louis for a black led run crew. 'Cause we are the only black led run crew in St. Louis, and I didn't know that there wasn't any other black run crews at the time. I had no idea.
Wow.
Had no idea.
That reminds me because that's what's beautiful about people with hearts of servitude is a good way to put it. Because I spoke with James from Prolific not too long ago, and he mentioned the same thing about creating a need that he didn't know existed,
Yes.
or didn't know that was present. And it's the same parallel here to where I hate going to one of the things I do here back at home and when I travel is I try to hit up as many run clubs as I can and support those, but then I come in first as an observer to see how do they treat the runners there or walkers there. Do they are they clear in what they talk about? Are they clear in their in setting expectations? Not every club has to fit every fold at every person. You don't have to be a fast or I know clubs that strictly 10:30. That may not be your thing, and that's okay. You may want to have a track more oriented club. That's okay too. But having that clear and at the very least acknowledgement. I remember that same time I went out of town, club that was about 200, 300 people. Not a single person said anything to me.
Mm.
And I'm not looking for attention. I can hold conversation with about anybody. I blame my grandfather for that because he never met a stranger. But like it felt it felt bad. I went there and like no one saw me, and then they started out, and I rarely see clubs started with a 6 minute pace. I'm like, wait, what's happening? It's like I
Right.
just went off and did my own thing. But I love that you took that and created an opportunity for others to that. I think that speaks a lot to, what, again, when I say impact, you created something so that others wouldn't feel that way. And you wanted to have representation to that. And I guess let's dig into that a little bit more. Is that, again, why was that important to continue on to that mission? And from your perspective, how did that lead to being more of a catalyst to where the club is at today? That notion of not leaving people feeling like they're left behind. How did you take that and really push the mission and the narrative of the club to where it is today?
I think, Chris, what running was doing for me, like it
Mm-hmm.
was selfish in the best way. How it was helping my mind, my body, and my soul. And I started to think about like my family history and health history, how my mom and two brothers and two sisters, five siblings, all passed by age of 65 from preventable deaths. And I started thinking, dang, like maybe I needed this to live longer. So once like those things started to click, I'm like, I have to push this because this not only is literally saving my life, it could possibly help save other people's lives. Um, and then like my dad started coming, my daughter
Mm,
started coming, my son, my wife, and they're running, and it became like my sister, like it became like a family oriented like vibe, and it just grew like a life of its own. I had like homie like people coming in, like I needed support, I needed leadership. People were like literally like inserting themselves in leadership roles because I would have burnt out, and it was like God was just like putting pieces at play. Like I started to run and get fast, and like dang, I felt like an athlete again. So all these things were like clicking from mind, body, soul, athleticism, my family. Um, I mean, I started getting free shoes. I'm a sneakerhead, bro. I'm a sneakerhead turned runner, and when I started just getting shoes, I'm like, what is this? What is? I started running because I was depressed and I felt like like I was being racist against, and now I'm getting free shoes. It felt like it was God, bro. So I could,
mm,
I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop, and it has just changed my life. It's changed St. Louis's lives. I think I've made a huge impact. A lot of that has to do, I think, with St. Louis and the need that St. Louis had for a movement community specifically for Black and Brown folks, and they've really like championed me and kind of put me in a realm of more impact. Like I'm meeting with like civic leaders and like
wow.
to make big like change, but it all because like God just like threw me in here, and I just went crazy, and I love it. It's changed my life in so many ways. I could talk about this all day. Um, I just love it. I love it, man.
That's that's beautiful to hear. I love when running has, and that's what's been so good about talking with different people and their experiences. It's just, I feel like, and I kind of had this when I was reading through and doing some research, how running sometimes can be our form of escape and our form of freedom at the same time. And
Mm,
it's been so powerful to witness people use running and walking as their catalyst to change, whether it be changing their mental, changing their health status, changing their community. And it's such a beautiful thing to see what you've done as part of that. So I, those again who listen, they know what's coming up next, but I'm always a big fan of acknowledging those who are around when we have the opportunity to. And just even from listening to your story now and from some of the things I dug into, I'm huge about people's choices. And you took your own struggles, you took your own things that you were going for, and you expanded it and opened it for others to see, to others to benefit over. Your cup literally ran over from where you were benefiting from. You didn't put it into your own cup and kept it to yourself. You outpoured that to the community, and that deserves praise and accolades. So before, and this is not the end of the session, no, but before I get caught up in tangents, I just want to make sure that we thank you for what you do and the impact that you've created and the movement you've created. Honestly, like I said, when I first even started going, and now I'm speaking just personally, I was looking at, different podcast formats and things like that, and I came across yours, and I took notes from that and took inspiration from that. And even again, sometimes you don't know who's watching, but I was watching and I took notes of that. So before all things are said and done, thank you for what you do. Truly, it's been really, really powerful to witness and watch.
Man, I truly appreciate that. And I'm gonna take a second to tell you thank you, Chris,
Oh,
because we need these vehicles to spread the gospel, as my boy Joe Robinson said, the gospel of running. And we need all these pieces. And even you mentioned like my podcast, like I I knew that like we need more of those spaces, but I got my hand, but like there's something like you, like we need you, bro. Like the
oh,
community, the culture needs you. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this. And we must champion you because we need these voices, we need these vehicles to continue to spread the word. And like re-energize, like this energizes me, bro. Like I be have my head in it so much, and
mm-hmm.
I be deep in it. So these conversations that feel so organic and natural, and your energy and spirit is top tier.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
bro. I'm sorry. I know I totally pushed that back on you, but you deserve that, bro. Because we need you, and you're doing your thing too, bro. Like I see you, man. Like I'm excited. I'm excited to be on this podcast. Like this is like what I look forward to. Like I don't know anybody's in this space where I'd be like, man, I can't wait to be on Safe Space Running. So thank you, Chris.
No,
Appreciate
it's
it, bro.
it's. I'm honored to even. I'm trying to do better at taking recognition. It's tough. It's always been a tough
Yeah.
thing for me,
I
but I'm
felt
trying to
too.
do
See?
better.
You see what I did with it? I just threw it back on you.
Just do it.
Just threw it back. No,
No,
thanks, though,
but
bro. I really
I
appreciate that, though, man.
of course, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna dig into the one thing which is good to go back to because I put a pin in it earlier, but I want to talk about that, and this will be one of a couple of things. You talked about representation in being fast and being at that start line, and I wanted to really go into point blank. Why is that important for you? Let me just start there. Why is that representation to pursue that kind of excellence and having that representation for blacks and people of color at the line? Why is that so important for you?
Mm. What immediately came in my head is the Olympics 1904. I preached this. I want everybody to know this story about Lynn and Jan, two black African men who happened to be in St. Louis. So let me set the table a bit. 1904 was the first Olympics in the US. Two black men happened to be at the History Museum at a part of a live exhibit displaying a rival war, the Boer War, and they were enemies. They brought
Mm,
them over here to be an art exhibit, and they're here staring at each other, being still. A month earlier, they were trying to kill each other. Okay,
mm,
the marathon, all white men. They say, "Oh, we need some more runners to run past." They said, "Hey, you all haven't trained a day in your life. You don't have no training. You don't know what to do. You don't have shoes on. Come run this race." Lynn was content. So they're in a race, threw them in a race. Both of them were like exceeding all expectations. In fact, one of them was contending to win halfway through, right? A neighbor set a pack of wild dogs to chase him a mile off the course. He still came in seventh place.
mm,
But That's why I want to be fast, because it was a point in time where I couldn't even run in a race, right? Where it was a point in time where there would have been no way for me to run a marathon in this country. And now with me being able to, I know the history of why I was a track athlete. I ran a 100, 200 because I didn't, like, in my school, in my culture, like, I didn't even know what cross country was until
Mm-hmm.
2021. I thought it was a super far race. That's a 5K, right? I'm like, so I think we've been kind of positioned into these sprinter modes, and now I'm like, they're going a marathon. It's very important that, like, I represent for young Black boys and girls that may be a distance runner, but are told they're a sprinter or only see sprinter. But I say, oh dang, I could run a marathon. I could do hard things. Um, but that's why it's important to me. The history of, like, I'm a big St. Louis history buff. But knowing where the marathon came from in St. Louis and how at one point in time I couldn't run and now I'm here, I gotta show out. I gotta show out. Also because I know, like, when I be in races, people be like, I got target on my back, man.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I gotta show out, man. And I love to compete. I'm an athlete. I play basketball, football, and track. So, for me, it's just something to, like, really allocate my resources to just become better, man.
I knew I put a pin in that conversation for a reason. I knew it. Someone was like, just hold that there, but that's perfect. And it's funny because I just was learning about that story, I kid you not, yesterday.
Mm,
So, and it was one of the things that I stressed so important. I'm glad you shared it because, again, I'm glad you were the one to share that because one of the things that Sarah Franklin had mentioned on the podcast was we need to learn the history of the sport. And
yeah.
there's so much history, there's so much lore, there's so much. I think we sometimes take it for granted. I did myself. I'll speak personally speaking. I just ran the run. I didn't really think about anything and how we got here. I didn't think about the struggles it took for me to be at the start line. I just started out and ran at the line because I could, which, again, ignorance is what it is. You don't know what you don't know. But I think it's really important for us, no matter, okay, people of color, that's really important for us to go back and look at the different struggles because running at one point in time was our way of survival, point blank.
Yeah, for
When you
sure.
really take it back, and this is, again, that's a topic in its own. We're going, I
Yeah.
mean, but that's what
You
it
preaching
was.
that, Chris, man. You preach.
Right. Listen, look, that's a whole nother TED talk in its
Yeah.
own, but I love that you brought that story up and shared it with that.
Yeah,
And
and I'll just add, and
yeah.
it means something even more important to me because although, like, I talked about, like, the struggles that these men had to go through to finish this race, the fact still is the first two Black men that ever run a marathon in the Olympics was in St. Louis. So I
Hmm.
feel like me and my homies here, like, once we heard about that story, like, we wear that on our back. Like, we are the legacy of Lynn and Jan in St. Louis, to continue what we just know they're, like, super proud of us. Like, they had to struggle through this race and still compete. And now, like, now they did that, so now we can flourish. So um we champion that. We champion that.
We have to. We have to. I love that part. It's just, again, now I have another story to add to my toolkit to remind others because you be surprised. And again, people don't know what we don't know, but it's important for us who's been in this space, who know that knowledge, to share that kind of knowledge.
Yeah.
And speaking of sharing knowledge, um, my last question, which kind of makes me sad because, again, I love speaking with you, but this won't be the last time you'll be on. I'm gonna be honest. You'll be on here another time. That's for sure. But one of my favorite questions to ask is, you have somebody brand new into this space and they don't, they don't know ins or out or whatever, maybe the case. They're getting into running and walking. They see it on Instagram. Oh, it looks cool, or whatever, maybe the reason why they decide to jump in. What is one piece of advice you would give them as they start this journey?
Mm. The obstacle is the way. that is my slogan for life, because it's not going to be easy. It might be cute at first, you wearing the outfits, but I think like it's not going to be easy. And I think a lot of people get into running, and I'm saying that might not be the answer, like the glamorous answer, but
No.
I think people now are getting into running because it's like a popular thing, and it's like very like cutesy to be a runner, but it's also something that does for like your mind, like your mental fortitude, because I want people to be prepared for when the running isn't fun and when it hurts and when it doesn't feel good and when they don't want to run. But it's what does the run do for you after the run? What it does for me, for my mind, my body, and my soul. But that obstacle, like that, is is the way. But I will give some a tangible nuggets.
I I love that, but give me we'll give you two. Give me another one. Give me
Yeah,
another
well,
one. Yeah.
I think if I would just say, I mean, it's very cliche, but just like go to the beat of your own drum. Like it's in line with that, because I just know how, if you're just entering running, like for me, I enter running, I didn't know nothing. I didn't know
Hmm.
what shoes to wear. I didn't know what Strava was. I didn't have a running watch. I didn't know anything. But now, if I were to start now, I probably would know everything. Oh, I heard these are the best shoes. Oh, I already know I got to get on Strava. I already know I got to get a chorus or a garment. There's so many things that we think we need to start running, but just go to the beat of your own drum. Whatever you like, do that. Don't compare yourself, and find your enjoyment in it. Because I think running is so different than what it. And I've only been here 4 years, but running is so different than what it was when I started. So I can only imagine what like some of the OGs even think of what running is now, where it's. I could get into a whole spiel about that, but the obstacle is the way,
Hmm.
and just go to the beat of your own drum.
I think those are perfect though, because you said it best. I see a lot of people. There's work that gets put into run. Running is not running gets better over time, but now my coach hat comes on at this point. It's just like to be successful and really reap the benefits of running. You're going to have some bad days. You're going to have days where you don't really want to. Sometimes you're going to have to come across that one race or that one run that's just like this is trash. It is what it is, but
Yeah.
breaking through that mental state, especially early on in your early running stages and being patient with yourself, running at your own pace, beat of your own drum, that's a lot. Running is a long term sport, and we have to give it the respect it needs, and you have to be patient with that and yourself. So I think those two are perfect, especially for those who don't really know how to navigate through. So
And I'm sorry, let me tell you what's on my mind when you asked me that
go,
question real
honestly,
quick.
go for it.
I saw something on Threads the other day where it was some lady, and I'm sorry, I'm sure she's not gonna hurt this, but it's no big deal. But she said, I'm trying to find a challenge for myself, guys. Should I train for a 5K or a marathon? She had
Mm,
never run, but she said, I've never run. I need a challenge. Should I train for a 5K or a marathon? It's like a 5K. Like that shouldn't even be a question. But it's because people hear about. I didn't know how far a marathon was, Chris, when I started.
mm-hmm.
I did not know how far it was. I remember having to look it up. Okay. But now everyone talks about the marathon. The marathon went struggle through that mile first, right? So yeah, that's just my little
I
tidbit.
love that because I feel like we're in now. I'm gonna go on a tangent with that too on that one because I feel like we're in an era right now of running, which I love people getting into the sport. I love that it's accessible to so many more people. But the thing that always concerns me, that makes me nervous about those who are entering into the space, is that they have this mindset to do just tough things just for the sake of doing tough things. And
Mhm.
there's a time and place for that, but running really requires respect. That's the thing I tell people all the time. And if you're gonna go run a marathon, you got to give it its respect. You can't fake a marathon. You can
No.
walk a 5K. You can walk a mile. You can even walk sometimes a 10K. Hike that. Once you start getting into that half marathon territory, that marathon territory,
Yeah,
you can't
different.
fake that. Either
Not
you got it or you don't. And running and walking is going to be one of the most honest sports. You're not going to, it's rare that people just get lucky. Either you put in the work or you don't.
that.
And I love that you brought up easing into the sport. Just like you don't have, not everyone's made or have to do a marathon. It's so
No.
glorified right now. And I've been running 20 years. I've done 3 marathons.
Mm.
That's it. Because I didn't want to do one for the longest just because I didn't want to. It wasn't my place, and I like them now, but I like training for them now. Running is a whole nother story. But
Yeah, me too. I'm
it's like it's like you don't have to do it if it's not in your calling or if it's something that it's not made for everybody, and that's okay. Not everyone ran 100. I surely wasn't running 100 when I ran track. I did the mile. I mean, I hated it, but I did the mile because that was my lane.
right.
And I love that you brought that up because I think it's a good reminder for even those who are experienced that get through the first portions first. I mean, give it the respect and just ease into it. I know
Yeah,
some people still break the mode, and that's fine. Do it safely, train for it respectively. But if you're looking for a challenge, start from scratch and see how you go from there. I think it's a really good reminder for that.
indeed, indeed. Appreciate you, Chris.
No, I appreciate you again. For those again, Ricky, I'm so glad we caught up. Again, this is not your last time that you're going to be on here. But I can't thank you enough for the inspiration that you've personally provided for me and for those around, the impact you've created in St. Louis. For those who are listening, please check out their Instagram, check out Ricky's Instagram. If you're in St. Louis, stop by, go check their club out.
Yeah,
But again, thank you so, so much for your time. I so appreciate this conversation. This was a inspiring conversation for me, just speaking candidly. Like I took in things from that as well as I do with all of them. And this is what we love here. So thank you so much for your time.
and thank you, Chris, for Chris's patience. This was meant to be. It only took us about 5 to make this happen, but it meant to be today. Okay. Thank you, Chris, for your grace, your patience, man. We made it happen. And once I got some other news that we're gonna drop soon, so I'm gonna hit you up and ask to come back
Please.
because I want to share something pretty cool that we got in the
I would
queue.
love that. I would love that. That would be really dope. Thank you.
Now, thank you, Chris. Appreciate you, bro.